Because the largest economy on earth is financial services. I think crypto will be the 12th sector of the economy within 10 years because it adds so much liquidity, so much productivity, so much transparency, so much auditability. It's so much better than what we're doing right now, which is so expensive and so slow. If I want to transfer capital over to Zurich to buy Nestle stock in Swiss francs, it takes me days. And it costs me a fortune, and it's incredibly inefficient. I could do it in 2 seconds with a stable coin, and I can't yet because we don't have policy on both sides of the ocean that let me do that, but it's coming one day. And I think crypto and blockchain and the services and financial transactions, microtransactions, all of it are going to lend itself to this blockchain auditability, transparency, the ledger system. It all makes sense to me, and I think regulators are starting to figure that out. Now, as an investor, I don't know which of these chains is going to win. Is Solana going to beat Polygon? Should I be in Pollen? What about, all of the others? Ethereum, of course, the big one right now, but too slow for many financial services. What's going on with, Helium and all of these different ideas out there? So my strategy is to do the same thing I do with stocks, get diversification. I own 32 positions, 32 chain projects, 32 different coins and tokens. I have no idea which ones will win over the next 5 years, but I don't need them all to win. I just need a few to win, and that's what diversification is all about. And I've made some investments in the infrastructure. You know that old adage in the gold rush, you were better owning and selling picks and shovels and jeans than you were trying to find gold, because that was very hard to do. The infrastructure of crypto are companies like FTX, I'm a shareholder. Circle, I'm a shareholder. Wonderfy, I'm a shareholder. Immutable Holdings, I'm a shareholder. I've given money to all of these projects because they make a lot of sense to me and I use them all. And they're centralized, decentralized. There's stable coins in there. There's the FTX platform, which is the first compliant institutional platform I can find that my auditors and my compliance department finally agree to let me use to store value. And those are the kind of things that really matter to me. And I have to disclose, yes, I'm a shareholder in FTX. I'm also a paid spokesperson. So I'm eating my own cooking, but I'm also talking about the merits of their compliance platform. They don't need to get it right. They just need to get it. In other words, we got to move forward on something here. And I'll tell you why. For all of the people in the crypto universe, and there are many that don't think we need regulation, let me point something out that would get everybody on board. It's a very simple quantum mathematics. And here's how it works. The majority of invested capital on earth is held by sovereign and pension plans, about 90+% of it. They own zero crypto, nothing. And so for all the excitement about Bitcoin, 800 billion, that is absolutely a giant nothing burger. It is totally irrelevant. It's not held by any institutions that matter. Now, I'm an indexer, and I've talked about this many, many times. There's many indexers in the world, but we service sovereign funds, pension plans. Let's say you're an oil-rich country in the Middle East. You're making 250 million cash a day, US dollars, in oil revenues. You don't want to reinvest in oil. You want to invest in every other sector. So they'll go to an indexer like me and say, index the S&P 500, less energy, less airlines. That's the kind of index we do. And so we see these fund flows, trillions of dollars of fund flows every year just going through the system. Indexers see that every 24 hours. And I always ask these institutions and these sovereign funds, what allocation would you put into Bitcoin? Just one. Bitcoin, which is the granddaddy digital asset, everybody knows that. What would you allocate if you could? And they said, well, we can't because our compliance department won't allow it, because the SEC hasn't ruled on it yet, and Larry Fink doesn't like it, and he's our biggest money manager, and all those other reasons. But they would allocate 50 to 100 basis points. Now, when you're running a $1 trillion mandate or an $800 billion mandate, which is some of the size of these funds, that's a ton of money. And that's a huge amount of demand that would come into the market. And as Bitcoin prices went past that 1% allocation, let's say, they'd sell it back down to 1%. But just importantly, if it dropped below 1%, they'd buy it back up. So there'd be an eternal bid forever. The volatility would drop dramatically. There'd be price appreciation in Bitcoin. It would be good for everybody involved in crypto. But we can't do it without policy. And so everybody should just get off this, let's be rogue, let's be crypto cowboys. Forget all that crap. It's time to get this real and get a tremendous amount of capital going into crypto because it's policy and it gets regulated and it's good for everybody. So I'm an investor. I'm constantly trying to find a way, the path of least resistance, to invest my capital, redeploy it. I have to look around the world for opportunities. I have to be diverse. And, crypto to me, when it was being frowned upon by regulators in a very harsh way, if you recall, 2017 was probably the height of when regulators were clamping down on tokens and different ways to tokenize assets like hotels and everything else back then. And as a result, I'm so involved in the traditional financial services market where I'm highly regulated and I have to report almost monthly to both my internal auditors, compliance department, and external regulators all around the world, that's the world I'm used to. And I saw no relief coming from regulators. And then what turned me around, what changed me completely, was when the Canadians, the OSC, granted the very first crypto exchange license attached to a dealer broker. A compliant platform. It wasn't rogue anymore. They told Canadian citizens you can transfer your cash out of your bank into this centralized wallet and you can trade Ethereum, Bitcoin, and slowly more and more coins were added. Then they announced in Canada the very first Bitcoin ETF. Then they announced the very first ETF that was for Ethereum. They were moving forward with policy that was regulated. And I immediately started investing in that because I saw it coming. I saw the writing on the wall. And I've also made the assumption, this is a personal assumption, that the OSC, the regulator that granted that world order for the first time, a dealer broker, was well in touch with the SEC and other regulators around the world. They talk to each other every day. Maybe Canada was being used as a petri dish or an experiment to try it. And it's been wildly successful. That's when I got involved in WonderFi. I became a shareholder there. WonderFi bought BitBuy, which was the first regulated exchange. And now that company has 800,000 registered compliant crypto accounts. It's the model for the rest of the world. So I got on a plane. I went to United Arab Emirates, Switzerland, England, South America, and I started showing these different regulators, look what the Canadians are doing. Can we do the same thing here? And that's exactly how I'm spending my time now, trying to open up these new markets with the policies that have been put in place, tested, and proven to work in Canada. What I'm suggesting, and I'm just one voice, but I try and say this over and over again to policymakers, is let's pick one thing. I mean, the crypto universe is so broad. It's so huge. There's so many different things going on at the same time. Let's bring policy on one thing and get that done. And what I'd like that to be is stable coins, because as a payment system right now, it would be very, very productive to bring forward some policy on stable coins and let the market compete. Now, I personally prefer ones that are backed by hard assets like the US dollar, but there's many ideas out there. Some work, some don't. Obviously, what happened with Luna was a bad outcome, but that's okay. This is a nascent industry, and we're trying different ideas, but the need for an international payment system is so huge and such a huge opportunity to save costs, to provide transparency, auditability, liquidity, speed, all of those things. That's what I'm suggesting. Let's pick one thing and bring policy on stablecoins. Let's nail that. And then we'll move into Bitcoin. We'll move into blockchain. We'll move into other things, but NFTs. But let's nail one thing.